Welcome back. My next guest was a teen icon. Boys loved her and girls wanted to be her. Please welcome the star of The Breakfast Club and Pretty in Pink, Molly Ringwald.
Wow, what an interesting clip to play before I came out.
You got the hair done, I see.
I sound like such a harridan. Yeah. I mean, wow.
Not at all. No, that was part of what we loved about the Molly Ringwald character in the films. That you weren't like those cheerleader ones. You were you were the interesting one who would have gone for guys like us. You know what I mean?
Of course.
Yeah, you would have, wouldn't you? Back then?
Absolutely.
So how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great, thanks. Have you seen that a million times? Do you watch it?
You know, I don't watch it on a regular basis because, you know, I've seen it and
I can imagine.
and I've done it.
Yeah.
But recently, actually, I watched another movie that I did with John Hughes, The Breakfast Club, with my 10-year-old daughter, and that was really interesting to see that movie from a parent's point of view instead of, you know, because when I did it, I just thought, you know, oh, I felt like the kids feel, you know, just like, oh, all parents are awful. But now that I'm a parent, you know, the mother of three, I'm thinking, those poor parents.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, what did your daughter make of it?
She loved it, but, you know, it was interesting. I said, how many of you have seen The Breakfast Club? I don't... It's, you know, it's kind of a classic in America. It's like, you know, you
It's a classic here as well. Yeah.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, in America, it's sort of like, it's like a touchstone. You know, you have to, it's almost like Catcher in the Rye. Like if you grow up, you have to see this movie, you know. And I was sort of interested to see which character that she related to.
Because we had, there's the princess, the brain.
Yeah.
The screw-up.
Yeah.
The criminal.
Yeah.
And
the jock.
And the jock. Okay, so they're the 5 archetypes in it.
Yeah, and so I thought my daughter would maybe relate to, I don't know, the sort of more, you know, not, well, they call her the basket case, but she's sort of the more indie outsider character. And she related to the character of Brian, who is the character who has the parents that
make him study all the time because if he doesn't get his grades now. Oh, wow.
Yeah. Which I guess, I mean, if you're going to have a problem with your parent, I guess that's the best one. Like
maybe
parent.
you need to talk a little bit though, do you? Because Brian and his parents, he kind of felt they were screwing him up a little bit.
Yeah, well, I do. But, you know, I think that's just a part of growing up, that you always feel like your parents are kind of screwing up.
Of course.
Right?
Yeah, of course.
I mean, you're not a normal kid if you don't think that your parents are screwing up a little bit.
Oh, yeah, you shouldn't be pals with your kids.
No,
that's
weird.
Needs to be that creative function.
Exactly.
So that was like everybody said they all had a sort of special something they could do, and Claire's thing
that was her gift.
Was that a trick that you brought yourself to the movie? Or?
No, it was something that John Hughes wrote in the script and he never really thought about how we were going to film that. You know, and finally I was like, hey, John, you're writing about me putting lipstick on with my breasts. Like, can we sort of, you know, work this out? Because it just sort of seemed, you know, like how it's not a talent that I possess.
Okay.
So
you think I'm going to ask you to do it again now?
So,
I've seen you deliberately worn the wrong top and everything just in case you were asked to do your party piece.
It's all in the editing, movie magic.
It is an extraordinary film. You know what? I watched it again last night, and actually it was really emotional watching it because I think the thing about it is it's not just a snapshot of that time.
Yeah.
I think that it brings us all back to that time in our lives, doesn't it? It's a part, and I
don't know when you watch it, because I know you're a parent as well. Like, do you watch it do you identify with the kids or do you identify with the parents?
I'm sad to say that I identified with the kids.
Really?
Yes. I felt their misunderstood teenager angst. I really did.
It's still, I don't know. I was all there with the parents. You know, I just think.
I'm glad that you've grown, Molly. I haven't. Okay, since we were last together when I was watching you in the Breakfast Club when I was 15. You've grown. I haven't. Okay, don't rub it in.
It's all right. It's all right.
Listen, the thing is, you had before all that happened for you. You had a kind of an extraordinary life already, hadn't you? Because you, from a very early age, you were a jazz musician. Yeah,
well, my dad is a jazz musician, Bob Ringwald, and I started out singing with him at 3 years old. I was doing sort of, traditional jazz, and I always thought that was the direction. I mean, as much as you can think at that age, I thought that's what I was going to do, and then the acting kind of took over. But I still kept singing. It's always something that's really been interesting to me.
And when the whole John Hughes thing happened for you then, I know he wrote, the first movie you did with him was 16 Candles, which I believe he wrote over a weekend looking at a picture of you. Yeah. Which could sound creepy when I say it like that, but then, of course, there was The Breakfast Club and then Pretty in Pink. And how old were you around then? 16, 17?
I was 15 when I was cast in 16 Candles. And originally he was going to do Breakfast Club locally in Chicago, which is where all these movies kind of take place, in the Midwest of the United States. And then, over July 4th weekend, he picked my picture out of a bunch of headshots that were given to him by a new agency, and my picture was in there, and he put it up on his wall above his writing station and wrote this movie, and then gave it to the studio, and they said, oh, we want to do that first. So when it came time to cast it, he said, oh, I want to meet this girl who I wrote this movie about, basically, and that's sort of how I
And then over the course of that 3 movies, you did become incredibly famous for kind of a young kid. You were the Brat Pack. And there was you and I guess Emilia Estevez and Andrew McCarthy and a few others. And did you kind of all go wild then?
Well, I don't think we really. I mean, I was younger. I was still in high school and still living with my parents. Emilio and Andrew and Judd and all those guys. They were all in their 20s. The only ones that were actually teenagers were me and Anthony Michael Hall, who plays Brian in The Breakfast Club and the geek in 16 Candles. So I wasn't really a part of it, but I sort of got sort of swept up in the whole definition of the Brat Pack.
But you weren't a Brat Pack or running wild.
No,
But you had your kind of wild years then, a couple of years later, because you were...
in my 20s.
Yeah, you were going out with Adam Horovitz from the Beastie Boys. And was that not at that time when the Beastie Boys were kind of wreaking havoc across...
Yeah.
They had just come on the scene.
We were together in Dublin. He had just finished, the License to Ill tour, and we went on holiday in London because his mom was Irish and he felt a great affinity for Ireland. So we went to, did this whole big Irish, landed in Dublin and drove across to Galway and went to the Cliffs of Moher. And then the papers took pictures of us and said, like, the Beauty and the Beastie. And,
at that time, the tabloids were running front page headlines of "Stop This Madness" and all that kind of stuff. You were telling me earlier, by the way, about the last time you were in Ireland. Or the other time you were in Ireland, it was after that, wasn't it?
Yeah, God, I'm sounding very name-droppy right about now.
No, go on. It's a good story, though. We like it.
This was like years later. I'm married with kids now. It's been a while. It's been 14 years, so, last time I was in Ireland, I was dating the guy who directed Rattle and Hum, which was the U2 movie. Yeah, so I was...
That was Phil Janu.
Yeah, Phil Joannou. And so I was...
How do we pronounce that? Because I've never known.
You probably pronounce it the more proper way.
No, well, you probably know. I haven't dated him.
Phil Joannou. So I was just there kind of hanging out on set, and, I think you can see me in one of the scenes, like in like a little corner. While they're doing that song. I think they were recording Desire or something.
Wow.
And I'm like in the corner, reading a book.
I think is it in the old Point Depot before it was done up? It's kind of in a big...
It's like, it was like in a big, kind of like loft area. Okay. I don't know.
That must have been incredible to be there for that little bit of history, was it? What were you doing? Were you kind of standing...
I was just like sitting there watching, reading a book and,
You were reading a book?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. You guys get on with whatever's going on over there. I'll read my book here. Yeah. And listen, you've been, obviously, you had your time in France then, did a lot of acting there, and you've been acting away in America. But one thing that you've kind of come back around to is the jazz, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I think it's funny how everything just kind of just comes full circle. And it was always something that I wanted to do. I wanted to you know, kind of put together my own jazz band, you know, because my tastes tend to run a little bit more modern than my dad, because he's like all, you know, old-timey 1920s jazz, which I love, but I wanted to do sort of my own thing. It took me a while because I was just busy doing other stuff, but I finally put my own jazz group together, and we released an album last year, and we've been touring, around. It's really fun.
And Molly is going to sing a song now as a very special treat for us, and it's kind of a jazzy arrangement, but you'll know the song. It's the song that starts and ends The Breakfast Club. You know that song, Don't You Forget About Me? So Molly's going to sing that now. Molly, it's been such a pleasure talking to you.
So nice talking to you too. Thank you.
Okay, so go over and sing for us. Ladies and gentlemen, Molly Ringwald.
Won't you come see about me? I'll be alone dancing, you know it, baby. Tell me your troubles and doubts, giving me everything inside and out. Love strange, so real in the dark. Think of the tender things that we were working on. Slow change may pull us apart. When the light gets into your heart, don't you forget about me. Don't you forget about me. Will you stand above me? Look my way, never love me. Rain keeps falling down. Will you recognize me? Call my name or walk on by. Rain keeps falling down, down, down. Don't you try to pretend it's my feeling we'll win in the end. I won't hold you or touch your defenses, vanity and security. Now, don't you forget about me. Don't you forget about me. Don't you forget about me.
Thank you. Peter Smith on piano.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. The lovely Molly Ringwald, ladies and gentlemen. A reminder of our competition for you.